Have you ever asked yourself questions like, what is the difference between present perfect and past simple? Or do we even need present perfect? Or what is this? Is this even a tense?
Oh my God, what is that?
If the answer is yes to all of my questions, or at least to one, and if you want to finally understand all you need to know about perfect tenses, then this video is for you. Hi friends, welcome back to English for Tech Professionals, the channel where we help you sound more confident in English for work and for life. If you haven't subscribed to English for Tech Professionals, please do so right now, because I don't want you to miss new videos every Friday, because this is when we post new videos, and each video is a mini lesson. Today we're going to cover 6 perfect tenses, from the common ones like present perfect to slightly weird ones like future perfect and future perfect continuous even. But first, what are perfect tenses and how are they different from other tenses? Well, in general, there are 3 main groups of tenses in English. Simple shows when something happens. Continuous shows the activity, the process. And perfect shows the connection between different times. And that means perfect tenses tell us that one time affects another time. Let's take a look at the most common perfect tense in the world, in the English language, I mean, okay? This is, of course, the present perfect tense. Present perfect shows the connection between past and present. Take, for example, the following sentence. I have finished the project. Although you finished the project in the past, it affects the present. The project is finished now, so you probably need to take next steps. For example, inform stakeholders, get feedback, plan the launch, etc. That's what we mean when we say that it connects the past and the present. Something was done earlier and it has results or consequences now. In the workplace, we often use present perfect when we talk about, guess what? Updates. In our stand-up meetings, we often use marker words like ever, never, just, already, yet, since, for, recently, so far. For example, we have fixed 3 bugs so far. So far means up until this moment. Or we have worked with the remote team since 2020. Now, attention, okay? Here's what you need to remember. Do not use present perfect with finished past actions, especially when you say when something happened. For example, yesterday, last week, in 2022, here's an example sentence. I met him yesterday, not I have met him yesterday. So remember, to tell the difference between past simple and present perfect, you have to know marker words. So memorize them. This is what I did when I was learning English back in school. This is how I memorized the marker words for present perfect. In this following order, I think it's easy to memorize them in this particular order. So write them down. Write them down after me. Ever, never, just, already, yet. Ever, never, just, already, yet. It sounds like some, I don't know, a little children poem or something like that. Ever, never, just, already, yet. For, since, recently, lately, so far. I hope it helps. Now, present perfect continuous. This is when past is connected to present activity. And we use this tense to show ongoing activity that started in the past and still continues. Imagine you start working on a big project. 1 year later, you're still working on the same project. Now pay attention, because this is where a lot of English learners make a mistake. You can't say, I am working on this project for a year. No, you cannot say, I worked on this project for a year. You have to say present perfect continuous. You have to use present perfect continuous. And you have to say, I have been working on this project for over a year. Because you started a year ago and you're still working on it now. So the process is ongoing. Of course, there are common time markers for this tense as well. For, since, lately, all day, this week. For example, I have been reviewing the PR all morning. She has been testing the flow since Monday. Here's a tip. Here's another tip for you. We normally use present perfect continuous when we describe how long something has been happening. For example, how long have you been working on this problem? If you want to ask a question that starts with how long, it's going to be present perfect continuous. And the answer is going to be present perfect continuous as well. I have been working on it for about 2 weeks. The two tenses we have just covered, present perfect continuous and present perfect, are the most common perfect tenses. If you learn these two tenses, that's already enough to communicate in any situation and to communicate well in any situation. The next four tenses are more advanced and we use them much less often than present perfect and the present perfect continuous tense. But I still want you to know them, so let's get down to it. Now it's past perfect, the past before the past. Use it when you have two or more past events and you need to show which past event was earlier. Here's an example of a real life situation where you would need to use past perfect. Imagine that your company released its first AI-powered product in November 2023, but then you left the company in January 2024. And when you talk about January 2024, it's a past moment, and you want to show what happened before that moment in 2023. This is the earlier past. This is when you use past perfect, and this is what you're going to say. When I left the company in 2024, we had already released our first AI-powered product. Now, earlier past is had released the product. Later past is left the company. Of course, there are time words here as well. By the time, before, already, when, and others. Here's an example. By the time the demo started, we had fixed the logging bug. Or he couldn't start the call because the admin had muted his microphone. So first the admin had muted the microphone, and that's why he couldn't start the call. Now, when you are talking about the past, you have to ask yourself the question, what was first? And the first is going to be past perfect. And the second is always going to be past simple. Now, here's a pro tip. Never mix and match past perfect with any present tenses. In the English language, past tenses stick together, present tenses sticks together but separately, right? So for example, if you use past perfect, it is going to be combined with the past simple, never with present perfect, for example, because past perfect has no connection to the present. A quick note on how to make a sentence in the past perfect tense. You just need had and the third form of the verb or the ed ending. Past perfect continuous, just like present perfect continuous, but for the past. Ongoing action before another past action. It shows the duration in the past before a second past event. Same logic as with the present perfect continuous, but shifted into the past. And here are time words. For, since, before, by the time. And here's an example, of course. We had been debugging for hours before we found the cause, or he had been leading the project since 2022 when I joined. So technically it's the same as present perfect continuous, but in the past. That's why you say had been doing something. It is a continuous action, but it has to be the action before another past action. Now we have also covered the two past perfect tenses. These ones you won't use as much in everyday speech as you will use them in articles, in literature, or in any other type of complex storytelling. Now we have one last category to cover: future perfect tenses. Good news, you will probably never actually need to use these tenses because they are such incredibly rare use cases. But still, it's good to know them just to flex your English grammar. You can be like, I know future perfect tenses. We don't really use them, but I know how to use them in case I have to, which you probably won't. But let's get to it. Let's take a look what future perfect tenses are and why we use them, why we don't use them, and when. Before we get down to talking about future perfect tenses, I would like to share with you something. If you want to be really good at English grammar, knowing grammar tenses is not enough. What you need to know besides grammar tenses is fixed grammar constructions. And you know what? The English for IT team created a grammar phrasebook with the 30 most commonly used grammar phrases that you can use in different situations, in different tenses, and for different occasions. And if you want to check out our grammar phrasebook, I will share the information in the description. And next time you need to have a conversation, you won't need to think what phrase to use, what tense to use, because you will have the phrase already memorized in your head. Only 30, but they will serve in so many different situations. And by the way, they are good for pretty much any level. So head over to the description, check Grammar Phrasebook, and let me know what you think. Now to future perfect. Future perfect, it's present connected to future. Future perfect shows that something will be finished before a future time. I know, a little bit complicated. That's why nobody uses it. For example, imagine you are doing a very tough workout. One thing that always helps me get through a difficult workout is positive affirmations. This is where you tell yourself something positive. Give yourself a little pep talk that goes like this, something like this. I got this. I can't quit now. In a few minutes, I will have finished this workout. You're looking at a future time and you're saying that some action will be finished by that time. This is future perfect. Of course, there are time words, and as you might have heard, it's by the time, but not by the time in the past like with past perfect, but by the time in the future. Also just by then, by the end of something, by the time, anything with by. For example, we will have shipped the MVP by the end of Q4, or in just a few weeks we will have finalized the contract. Future perfect is not alone. There is future perfect continuous. To be honest, I can't remember the last time I have used a future perfect continuous, maybe never. But you've probably noticed a pattern by now. Future perfect continuous is just like present perfect continuous, and it's just like past perfect continuous, but set in the future. Future perfect continuous tells us how long an activity will have been happening up to some point in the future. For example, imagine you decide to take a sabbatical for a year and go traveling. You plan to start your trip in October. Then you can say, by May, I will have been traveling for 7 months. So the time words are the same. By for the future. For example, by Friday, the team will have been testing the fix for 2 days. So if you found this video useful, if you liked it, show me your love. Also, don't forget to subscribe. If you also have any suggestions, questions, comments, or requests, share them in the comments. And if you have any suggestions for future topics, let me know as well, because I want to make content. I want to create videos that are useful for you. Until the next time.